Baba, sioni mwanga mahali popote. Yesu, nimefinywa sana. Oh, nataka hii sasa na hofu ile haiji kesho. Baba, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Baba, nipe uvumilivu, 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 uvumilivu. Niweze kukungoja siku zangu zote. Hata giza kiwe siku 40, Baba. Yesu, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Yesu, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Uchungu wa moyo ulinifanya nione umbali nami. Ukweli ni kuwa uliposema hutaniacha kamwe, hivyo tu ndivyo unavyotenda. Na hulali pia waniwaza. Baba, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Baba, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Siku zangu zote nikungoje. Uvumilivu, uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Yesu, nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, 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 ninakungoja Yesu, ninakungoja, 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 nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, 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 ninakungoja Yesu, ninakungoja, ninakungoja, ninakungoja. Nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, 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 nitakungoja. Baba, nitakungoja, oh Yesu, nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, nitakungoja, nitakungoja. Nitakungoja, nitakungoja, nitakungoja.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, and we are on Homescapes again. And today our topic is so hot. Please open your windows and turn on the fan. My seat is hot already, and I know Lorraine's seat is hot. Pastor Julie's seat is already hot. I know Angie, your seat is hot. Back there, Sue, I know you. If you're tuned in, I know your seat is heating up. Our topic today is feminism and Christianity. Did I say feminism? Yes, I did. We are discussing a hot issue, feminism, and we want you to be responsible for making sure that we are talking to you. Bring your comments, keep them coming. Let us know that you are listening and where you are listening from. Today, in the usual manner, we have a panel, and this panel is amazing. is our own pastors, our own reverends, the ones we have ordained, the ones who breathe in the word of God, the ones that live the Christian life as best as they can. And they're here to help us understand this topic. How cool is that, you know? So with me is our very bishop, my own, I have a bishop. Pastor Charles, karibu sana.
Thank you, Reverend Maggie. I'm excited to be here as always, and we'll just request for a little escape route because at one time, Lovie and I may need to take off because of this topic.
So long as the main gate is closed, we are happy because we can have you back.
Containment.
Yeah. Thank you. And we also have Reverend Lovie, Lorraine, Reverend Lorraine on this side,
Yes.
Lovie on this side.
I'm happy to be here. Today I didn't even want a seat. I wanted to be left to stand the entire session.
To be
I'm
upstanding.
happy to be here.
That's very good. Karibu sana, Lorraine, again. And Reverend Julie, karibu sana.
Thank you very much,
Is
Reverend
your
Maggie.
seat?
My seat is hot.
It's hot.
It's very hot.
You guys, you know, the seats are just hot.
Yes.
Reverend Lovie, karibu sana too.
We are praying in tongues internally, and we ask all the men to stand with us.
Right?
During this trying time.
Bishop Charles and I are seated at the edge deliberately, so that when it comes to time that we need to take off our dear lives, we will make it happen.
Right. I think what we shall try to do is to make sure that we have water flowing continuously.
Exactly.
Make sure you have a cup of water. It's what we are cooled from inside, isn't it? Yeah. So we want to get going straight away with this topic, and we want to ask this question: what is feminism, and how is feminism understood in our context today? Our context is Christian. Our context is our country, Kenya. We are able to talk about the issues that we are familiar with and the places that we know, and we want to dig right in and say, how do we see feminism expressed at home, at church, in the workplace, in our society? Who would like us to, whose seat is too hot?
I can see you looking in this
Yes,
direction.
yes, yes.
Let me start by addressing the second part of your question. How is feminism being viewed today?
Right.
First, I will start by saying that I think for my generational gap, it is a very sensitive topic. It's a very sensitive issue. Wow. And I let me speak for myself. Let me not purport to speak for every woman out there our age, and say that I have baggage. I have baggage because of how I have been treated before by people of the opposite gender, my friends from the opposite gender. Words have been used on me that I did not think were true of me.
Is there a word like you like to
Yes.
share right now?
Do you want me to start now? The fire.
The fire is too much.
Let me
All
just
right.
use it. Let me just throw it so that we
Okay.
can address it later.
Okay,
A word
pull
like
it.
women are emotional, so they necessarily assume that I am emotional, that I cannot hold a logical conversation, even if it's through tears, because I believe I might be crying, but what I'm saying is
You have a point you
I
want to
have a
put
point I
across.
want to make. So I have baggage. I feel like when I approach the word feminism, I just want men to know that I'm not just a woman. I'm Lorraine. I am something more than what they have an image of in their minds when they think of a woman. I want them to think of me as Lorraine, not a woman. So when I hear feminism, I want to jump on board. I want to get on that bus. I want to go with that bus wherever it is going. I want to arrive at the destination. I want to be heard. I have issues and I want them addressed here
So
today.
there's baggage there, the insensitivity there.
Yes.
It's a hot button issue
It
from
is
your
for me,
perspective.
yes.
Now let's hear from Reverend Lovie. Pastor Charles was also ready to say something, but go ahead.
Feminism. So one, I think the ladies, since it's feminism, you'll give us a working definition of what feminism is, because as men and representatives of men, we are here to hear from the women. I find it very interesting for a man to purport to talk about a being, for lack of a better expression, that he does not understand. So I don't want to fall into the same fallacical trap of describing an experience that I have not had. So I'll ask the women, just give us a working definition of feminism, and then I will tell you how it looks like to us. Because right now, let me just say it, then you can give me that working definition. For us, for many men, you get it at the tip of the spear. It looks like an affront to the being, the responsibility, the societal position of a man. There's an uproar that you are occupying a place that you should not occupy. That's how it feels to us, or that we should occupy together for reasons that may not be known to us, or some that are known to us but we ignore. But I'm being honest. But to us, feminism feels like an affront and a threat to the place, the position, the identity of a man in society. That's how we see it.
Yes.
But today, I'm happy we are having this discussion so that we can be able to come up with a ground that has been sieved through the word of God to see what should feminism be and how should we perceive it as the different genders that have to coexist on this planet called Earth.
Great, thank you so much. I think we shall come to that definition in a short while, but let's explore more about how we feel and view feminism today. Reverend Julie.
You know, Reverend Maggie, I think, as I'm listening to Reverend Lovich talking, I think one of the things about this word feminism, again, it evokes very many different emotions from different people. And one of the things that has been communicated or we've had is that what a man can do, a woman can do better. But that's not necessarily feminism, let me just say. But I think feminism came up because we are trying to correct a narrative that had been passed down from past and past generations, whereby it felt that men were more superior than women. They are not equal, such that if a man can thrive at the workplace, a woman cannot thrive as much. You get? And then there are certain and you know, when you think about feminism, it's coming to correct this narrative where it feels like there are certain privileges, and it's mostly privileges, Pastor Maggie. Like there are clubs that I know of. There are clubs where I know there's a room that women cannot enter to date. To this day.
In today's Kenya.
In today's Kenya,
Yes.
Reverend Maggie.
Yes.
And so it's a club, it's for men only. You know?
And you're wondering why?
And you're wondering why.
Yes.
So I feel like that feminism came to address that inequality. So are we saying that men are more equal than women? Are we saying that women have no voice? Is it, you know? So I feel like that's what it came to correct. Yeah.
Wow, I think the topic is gaining good traction here. Not Reverend, but Bishop Charles. I know you have had a word or a feeling, or men have spoken and you have heard them speak about what that word feminism evokes in their hearts.
Yeah, I think there's generally, like Reverend Lovey just mentioned, every time men hear the word feminism, I think our defenses go up because we're expecting a fight, you know, and a good degree of vitriol and anger, you know, aimed at you. So you are like, okay, now what am I going to be accused of? And you almost feel like a man, you already stand guilty as charged. You know, you start exonerating yourself and you say, whatever it was, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. So obviously that's because of the years of misunderstanding and maybe what has come out to be and sometimes I feel an overcorrection of injustices of the past, but those become then distortions of what feminism is. I really love what Reverend Lovey said earlier. The fact that as a man, how would I purport to describe a woman? I've never been one, really. So a working definition of feminism cannot really come from a man, per se, because I've never been there. And so I think to be able to listen then to what a woman is, and earlier on we were having a conversation and he said something significant, that we are supposed to be in awe as we behold God's creation blossom into what it was meant to be.
Right.
In a way that even I should be wowed. I think Adam was wowed when he saw Eve. He'd never
That
seen
he
this
was.
being before.
Yeah.
And he raptured into a spontaneous poem, and is actually the alliteration in bone of my bones, whatever, she shall be called woman, is actually a poem if you look at it in the Hebrew,
Yes.
the way he spoke it. It was almost a rejoicing of what he had seen. He never knew it existed before. And this being was so amazing to him. And I think we've lost some of that wow and wonder as through culture, through politics and society and many different forces, we have tried to harness and define and limit what feminism should be or what a woman should be. I don't think it's really in our place to be able to define that, because just like the man, she was amazingly created by an amazing creator called God, who we can't even fathom, so that even today we drift towards each other. There's a magnetic pull, that the woman possesses for the man, and that's part of the mystery that we cannot deconstruct, because it's embedded in the mystery of the creator. And so I would very strongly agree with his sentiments that some of it is we should just sit back and be wowed by what God has done in creating that opposite gender, who are very different from us, but yet in very many ways complement who we are.
Yeah, and yet from what Reverend Rain said a little earlier, there are some nuances and some stereotypes that vex the heart of a woman. So let's explore a bit deeper these expressions and these connotations that have ended up coloring what feminism has come to describe and to define.
Okay, can I just make one comment before the topic gets too hot? Let me just say that whenever something acquires an ism, it does become controversial.
Yes.
We were meant to complement each other. But when we start talking about complementarianism, it's a whole different animal.
Exactly.
And just like most isms, sexism, and so on, it becomes a whole different animal.
Right.
So just to say that there is a positive and a thing that we need to affirm about feminism, especially when it describes a corrective movement that seeks to eliminate, what we can call maybe global insubordination of women. And we know it has been there historically. We are still fighting it here. Things that we knew culturally and otherwise were retrogressive, were oppressive, and so on. And so to the extent that that is being addressed, it's a human issue and it's good. And, but of course we know there can be an overcorrection where then everything male is viewed as the enemy, even before guilty as charged, just by being born male. So I think we must be careful there so that we are not just addressing an ism, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Lorraine will respond,
Yes.
and then we pick it up from there.
Yes, I'd like to jump on what Reverend Maggie was addressing when she said that there are words that are used in normal speak that, imply on the other side, on the other side of the coin of what you've said, that a woman is guilty just because you are a woman. And I want to say that I agree that the sexes are different, our structure biologically, physiologically. There are things I am created to do that a man cannot do. For example, I have a uterus, so I can carry a baby. My husband cannot carry a baby. These are not what we are arguing about. These are the differences. And in fact, maybe that's part of what you're saying is attractive. When a man looks at that, he's attracted to that, but, and things like that. But when we come to the issue of gender, I get the sense that, before we make it extreme, I get the sense that there are words that are used to describe the male gender that make the male gender the better gender. For example, someone will say, men are brave, men are strong, men are, logical. And I wonder, let me put a pause on that. And women, people are likely to say women, women can be rational, women are emotional, women are soft, women are this, and it's like it has a certain negative connotation to it. And I was giving an example before and saying, when someone says, stop being a girl, it necessarily implies that whatever you're doing is not right, and I'm calling you to change from that. When you say you hit like a girl, you throw like a girl, it carries a certain connotation, which I think is whereas legally we can and people can say we are equal in the eyes of God in value. Christians, we sit together and say these things, but at the back of your head unconsciously you relate certain things to the female gender that are negative in nature, and these are the things that are zinaniuma. I lose the English word. I ask to be helped.
So what are the contentions here with feminism? Is ability, for example, a contentious issue? Are we contending with the fact that women have no equal ability with men? Or what are we saying, Reverend Julie?
Reverend Maggie, I think what I'm hearing, and even Reverend Lorraine has talked about and the bishop has said, is we need to celebrate the differences that we have.
Yes.
We are not trying to be a man. I'm not trying to be a man. Women are not trying to be men, like Reverend Lorraine has talked about the gender differences.
Yes.
We're not saying that now I have to dress like a man, now I have to talk like a man. Why can't I be dressed in my nice dress and my nice makeup and go to a boardroom and be treated equally important, you know? And if I have an opinion, I'll be heard. It'll be taken into consideration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're able to make an argument.
Yes.
And make it clear.
And make it clear.
Isn't it?
So we don't want to be, I think for the feminist movement, what they're saying, okay, the positive one, like we've said, then there's the negative. There's the extreme who says, like I said before, what a man can do, a man can do better. That's the other extreme where now it's a combative approach.
Yes.
We're just ready for a fight.
Right.
What we're saying is that we are advocating for, what feminists are doing is advocating for an equal opportunity to be heard, an equal opportunity for career, an equal opportunity in inheritance, an equal opportunity, in education, for example. So we are not, feminists are not fighting to be better than, it's just we're saying.
Or to take their place.
No. That's not what it's about.
No.
It's just like what I'm hearing Reverend Lorraine saying is just to be heard.
To be heard.
And to be equal.
Seen as equal.
Yes.
Not just by the law, but actually in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
To
Right.
be seen as equal.
Oh, I think I really like that, and our time is moving us towards a short break. But before we come to that short break, we want to also say that there have been a need to define this word, and I think that's what we have been trying to do to define it. And I am hearing us say we are defining this word feminism as a search for equality, a search for a platform that is equal, a level playing field, so that I can bring in my lot, you bring in your lot, and we build a better community, isn't it? Yeah. So let's take this short break, and when we come back, we can hear what has Christianity got to do with feminism. And is the battlefield being brought from out there to the home? So we want to explore that when we take this break.
Now this next song is a song that we just did a little twist on it, and what we call it reggae-fied. We reggae-fied it. We hope that we can praise the Lord together. Our God who is everlasting, the one to whom all blessings flow. Hallelujah. Wamilele, wabaraka ni nani? Wamilele, wabaraka ni Yesu. Wamilele, wabaraka ni nani? Wamilele. I know you have the hang of it by now. Sema wamilele, wabaraka ni nani? Sema.
Welcome back, guys. We are still here. Our seats are still hot, but we want to read a few comments before we continue. So, Reverend, do you have some comments there?
I do. Let me, first of all, welcome so many of you who have joined us. Let me say hi to you, Susan and Anne, Kimemia, Karibuni Sana, Salmak, Elizabeth. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Miss Abigail Kimosop, you have joined us. You're saying, I share Reverend Julie's sentiments, kabisa. I strongly believe feminism has been misunderstood and mistaken for misandry. If we clearly differentiated the two, it has idea sana, and Reverend Julie can tell us later what this misandry means. Karibu sana, Emma, Madhenge, karibuni sana. I see Margaret, Jane, Jackie, Mwao, Andrew, Richard, Omolo, karibuni. Richard is asking, where can they even be allowed in barazas? I guess he means the women, because we all know that men are the ones who sit in barazas. I'm just trying to make big of this. Karibuni sana. And there is a lady here. Maybe Reverend Julie, you can read some of the other things that people are expressing in our comment section.
Yeah, so I think I have to start with well, there's several comments I've seen here, Abby. All right, let me define what misandry is. Let's begin with that, because you have thrown it to me. So misandry is the other extreme, whereby it's a hate or a dislike or a contempt of for men in general. So then that's the other extreme of women who make statements like all men are dogs. You know, allow me to use that word. There's the other extreme. All men are good for nothing. Men are that's the other extreme. And so we the women who fight anything to do with a man. I don't want to get married. I'm going to be a single mother. In fact, I don't want to have a husband. Me, I'll do IV. You know that one for I don't need a man. That's the other thing. So I feel that's the other extreme, and that's not what we're advocating for. So that's what Abby is saying. We need to differentiate between feminism and misandry. But then there's something that Maggie has said here. And I believe
Maggie is not me.
Not Reverend Maggie, to clarify.
All right,
because this one is a young mother.
All right.
And I may identify with Margaret. And what Margaret is saying is, you know, at some point when they had a young baby, the baby was 6 weeks old, and the husband went for a game night, right? And so here she's adding and just saying that, you know, it feels like women have to make all the sacrifices, particularly when it comes to children, while men move on to achieve their goals. And I feel like it's a shared sentiment for women and mothers. So it feels like, okay, even if you get your maternity leave, and we have no qualms, we have to take care of the baby. We're happy to take care of the baby. But also, you know, it's usually described as your child, not our child.
Not our child.
Yeah, it's your child. Then you have to make all the sacrifices. You have to stay at home, probably choose your child over your career, while the husband goes on to make to
advance
pursue
in their career.
their careers.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Maggie has an issue with the husband going with taking care of the baby. I think the issue is there a place for the husbands or the men generally to say, okay, this game night is not everything. Let me stay home with my wife
and my young baby, our young baby.
Not you.
Not mine, and our young baby. So is there a place for women to also just be able to advance their careers and their dreams and pursue them without feeling that we have to put it on hold when I get married or when I start a family?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's a great question, isn't it? Huh?
It is. And you know, Pastor Maggie, also the other thing is, what we hear and the narrative that has been drummed in is, ukisoma sana, utapata bwana. So that's feels
if you
like...
have a car or a home.
Yeah, you know, that's it. And you have to aspire, you have to put your dreams on hold, because men will feel threatened to marry you if you have gone to school and studied too hard.
And from a cultural point of view, it's not just men. Because my late grandma, when my mom, who had gone to class 3, those days, my grandmother was threatened by my father's educated wife. Her son had an educated wife. She was threatened. So I think from a cultural point of view, the threat is not only to the men.
Yes.
It's like to women as well. Yeah. So I think those are very good questions. And I think our men here in this panel will help us unpack or address the issue of participation. Equal participation. Because I think the definition that is emerging now from the question and comments is equal opportunity for career, education, access to property, access to loans, finances, money, anything. It's equal opportunity for growth and for advancement. Not one over the other or above the other, and not the subjugation, and not the extreme. So I think a balance is being looked for. That's the kind of feminism we are trying to advocate, and we will soon see what the Bible says about that. But we do feel about the women who are feeling oppressed at this time, because truly, it's like it's oppressive. Feminism is a reaction to the oppression. So what else are women reacting to, really? You know, because we have said there are things that women will do, must do because of their physiological abilities, and others they can't do. Are there others that women are contending with, and that's what they're labeling as feminism?
Well, let me just add, so before our men help us and set us free from where we have been bound by culture and, time, another thing that I feel like we are fighting now, maybe feminism began somewhere, but there's something we are fighting in Kenya right now as women, is the and people use this word and they say it's from the scriptures that women are homemakers. And, I wonder, I'd like to, as our men respond to these things, is it possible that God only meant that women are the only ones who make the home? Or is it a joint effort by both the father and the mother to raise this godly offspring in whatever capacity that looks like in different homes? Women are fighting against the words I spoke about earlier, which I would also like our men to address. When they say women are emotional or can be irrational and men are logical, is that an implication that women are not logical and that men are not emotional? What is that is being communicated? Women are fighting for, like we were saying, inheritance. You just want, the law has stipulated it, but somehow when we are huku mashinani where there's no one to follow up on, what has been dictated by our country's laws, then you find the man will get the larger share, or at the workplace they will say, the man has the greater responsibility to care for his family, his wife and his children. So in a sense, we have the right we should pay him more for the work that is the same amount of work done by a woman, and they assume that you are not caring for a family. You will be cared for. So it's okay, So things like those, I think they are very current and present right now. And maybe outside of Nairobi or the cities, there are people who are still fighting for the right to education. In the cities, we have gotten the opportunity, but who's to say about the people in Mashinani? Are they also getting the same opportunities? So those are some of the things I see as what we are fighting currently now.
Right. I think once we polish that area well, we can hear what men are still feeling even today. As women push for that space for equality, what are men feeling currently?
Mine, before I take it to Reverend Lovey, we want to declare here we overcame the fear of marrying educated women, so we don't have that problem, as to legislate kitambo. So we are in full confidence moving forward. And though my wife is speaking passionately on the topic, I believe there are no historical injustices she's expressing. But, maybe first Reverend Lovey, and then I'll make a comment also.
Yeah, but tell us, are men really feeling this feminism? Are they with the women when they are saying we want an equal space? How are the men really feeling today?
I can't speak for all the men, but I think it has to start with an admission that we have enjoyed a privilege that has been passed down to us as men at the expense of our women. So when you're enjoying a privilege, it doesn't come naturally to you that this is a privilege at someone else's expense, especially when it's passed down to you as a right from childhood. That these are the things that you are entitled to because you're a man from society and from women. So for the longest time, you enjoy and wallow and glory in being a man and in enjoying even those things that have oppressed women for years. So I think this conversation is good for men. I can't say that many men have been losing sleep over feminism, but now that it is highlighted, we have to be conscious to see that clearly there is something wrong. There is a dysfunction that benefits us that we need to address. And naturally, human beings look out for their own benefit. So for this to be addressed, we have to roll back some of the benefits, which is counter-humanity. So I can't even say it from the heart of men, we are feminists in that sense. But then there's something else that happens to a man that can make you a feminist. One of it is, and Reverend Bishop Charles and I share, is being the father of a daughter. You know, when you have a child, you love them unconditionally. That's when you start realizing this society is unfair to my child because they are a girl. The kind of celebration that you get when you get a son is not commensurate to the one that you get when you get a daughter. There are even people who tell you, don't worry, you will get a child. So it's not, it's not like that you have gotten a cat now.
Even now.
No, it happens subconsciously. So I think for me, being the father of a daughter is one of the ways that God used to highlight, it is very difficult to be a woman because there is a woman, an upcoming woman, who God has brought to the world through me that is experiencing an inequality. That's when it dawns on you that there is a patriarchal injustice that if your daughter walks out there, catcalls might come to her. And suddenly you start seeing some of the things that are being perpetrated as normalcy by men are actually not normal, because you would not want them to be done to quote-unquote bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh's child that has come from your loins in biblical terms. So it's a bit of both. Without having a woman in your life be victimized by the structural chauvinism that exists, it is not a conscious awareness that we have as men. But then that is the beauty of this discussion, because we want to challenge each other as men to be conscious and to challenge each other as men to be considerate and to figure out and participate in creating an enabling environment for our women who have been oppressed for years to flourish and to be the women that God created them to be. Yeah.
And I just want to agree with you, Reverend Lovey, but and also to say that when it comes to the question of gender stereotyping, it almost happens unconsciously. We are not even conscious that we are being, being pushed towards certain privileges, because when you grow up as a boy and the first thing your father asks you, what are you doing in the kitchen with the women? Already, it begins to grow a certain stereotype in you as to where you belong, where you do not belong. And in a sense, you're being told you belong here with me as your father on the table to receive from your sister or from your mother, what they have cooked. And of course, we know that culture is not static. A lot of that has changed. I didn't see us bring our children that way, for example. I think I will not say myself, but Maggie was very intentional about ensuring both the boys and the girl could equally cook, and they're all great chefs. I mean, they cook very well. So it wasn't an issue because, again, culture is dynamic and it's changing. And the gender stereotypes, are reinforced both by men and women, and because even women are they come from the same culture. They are results of this culture. And so a lot of things that we end up doing and even saying, Lorraine said, and when you say women are emotional, and it's not said as a compliment. What does that mean? And the truth about it is part of that whole cultural misnomer that things that we don't understand as men concerning women will be explained away. And by the time maybe a man, even I'm telling, Love is telling me, this happened between I and Julie, she flew off the handle and this happened. Women are emotional. I'm not actually trying to, what I'm doing is trying to tell my brother, listen, live considerately with your wife. You will not always understand why she does what she's doing. But hearing it now from her is like, this is so offensive.
In fact, consideration is for you to think that what I'm saying is is, you know, reasonable.
Yes.
It makes sense. Not to,
Yes.
it's okay, buy me flowers
Yeah.
and, you know, because I'm
Yes.
emotional, I'll be happy and we move on.
And at that time, I'm just having a conversation with my brother, trying to tell him, you know, there's nothing wrong with your wife, but it's not explained in a logical way, so to speak. It's almost a dismissive gender stereotype. You know,
Yeah.
again, we know that this is a real issue. For example, I think it's until very recently that Kenya has had a gender desk in its police force, isn't it? Because what used to happen to issues of domestic violence, for example, the police didn't find any need to intervene. Hiyo ni mambo ya nyumbani.
Nyumbani,
And then
eh.
never mind people were getting killed, especially women were getting killed in their own homes. And the law didn't find that they can intervene. You know, even after the gender desk had been promulgated, to use that word, you know, a lot of especially the male police force, were very dismissive. A woman would come, she said, even a case as serious as rape is, wewe ulikuwa unafanya nini huko? Hiyo ni saa ngapi mwanamke kukua? You know, so
You know, Bishop, let me remind you of
Yeah.
that thing about my dress, my choice. You
Yes.
remember that when women were being undressed in Nairobi?
yes.
And some men, I heard them myself, I was in their presence, they would say, but akivaa hivyo, if she dresses like that, what does she expect? We will undress her. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
she is guilty. It doesn't matter what action has been done.
So again, it's a robbing of the humanity and the dignity of one gender over and above by the other, you know, and that is a force of culture, you know, that needs to be addressed. And I think this is where we need to be very sober and go back to the scriptures so that we ask ourselves, what does God expect? For example, because, you know, we are the beneficiaries of culture in most cases as men. What does God expect of men? How did God treat women? You know, those are some of the questions that we don't ask critically. And I won't even go to the Old Testament. Let's go, because most people run to the New Testament. Because your perfect example is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Which place was Jesus ever dismissive of women? Where did he malign them, dishonor them, you know, or bend to cultural stereotypes in order to profile women? And I think it would be good, before we finish the show, we can read just one or two stories, just so that we know, as people use this as an excuse, especially, I'm especially offended by people in the church who perpetrate this narrative in the name of God. It is evil. And I said the other time, it is not different from apartheid. You know, how you perpetrate something in the name of God. It is unjust, it is evil. God is a God of justice. You know, at no time does it diminish one gender, you know, before the other. All of us equally are supposed to bow down to the authority of God. And when he says that, you know, when he says you're a child of God, you become a child of God. You come as man and woman on the basis of your profession of faith, not of your gender. You know, and I think that equality, the ground is really level at the cross. But